All right. Welcome back, everyone, to Rejects and Friends Event Horizon, our small showcase show showing off a couple runs that are auxiliary to the main event. Speaking of the main event, RaF Rapid Fire is coming up on June 23rd. You can find a schedule of all of the games if you type in !RAF RF in chat. We are looking for a couple more art prizes, so if that is of interest to you, a link will be dropped into the chat very soon, just to show or I guess solicit any art prizes that you might have in your mind, in the background, in the wakes. So let me know if any of that sounds interesting. And I will now turn it over to Requiem of Spirit, who's going to be performing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild All Towers in a sort of preparation for our big event during Rapid Fire, which is going to be all dungeons versus any percent 3 times in a row. So take it away.
Hello. I'm just gonna go ahead, start immediately. We have a 1-minute cutscene before timer starts, and so during that time, I guess me and Noman can maybe talk about what I'm doing here. So this is a category extension run called All Towers. As the name suggests, and as might be obvious, we're gonna get all towers. And ever since the discovery of like one of the more newer tricks in the run called BLSS, this category has been really easy, more like just a practice for the trick itself, because the trick lets you lose no height and float very long distances at high speeds. And so normally that run, it's very nice and casual, it's nice and chill. Gets pretty boring really quick though, very repetitive. And so I'm going to try to turn some of these segments into more of like a movement showcase and showcase a bunch of different tricks, including some tricks that are completely obsolete, some tricks that you don't see too much anymore. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
This is definitely going to be a fun run to watch.
Hopefully, if I hit the tricks. Time
Hopefully,
starts
yeah.
in 3, 2, 1.
All right, so right here, Rek is getting the Sheikah Slate, and this is going to let us do the very first glitch in the run, and that is going to be the Shrine of Resurrection clip. In about 33 seconds, he's going to gain control of Link again, and he's going to try to clip out of this room. Fun fact, all towers actually used to be a main board category for Breath of the Wild until it was moved.
Oh, wait, really? Wow.
Yep. So now he's going to try and align Link in a very specific angle and scope, and there he goes. He clips out of bounds, and this allows us to skip all of the opening cutscenes, and it also makes sure that the time of day in the game is locked at 5:15 a.m., and the weather is completely static. Now he's going to have to clip back in bounds by crouching in this very specific spot, and he is on his way to the Temple of Time. On the way there, he's going to grab a couple pieces of equipment. He's going to grab probably a couple peppers, I assume. And then the Boko Spear and the pot lid. This is the pot lid, and of course he grabs the Boko Spear with no problem. So
Normally, people shield surf here, but I am deathly afraid of my shield durability, which will become apparent soon. So I'm just gonna run this entire segment.
So unfortunately, this cutscene right here is unavoidable after you get a certain distance away. This will always trigger where Zelda talks to you and tells you to check your Sheikah Slate and go to the tower. But we're gonna completely ignore what Zelda says, and we're gonna go and do our very first shield clip of the run. He's gonna land on his shield on this little lip and give himself something called skew, and that's gonna flick Link backwards when he does a shield flip and unequip. And he's going to use that to clip through that window and grab this bow and a bundle of 5 arrows from this pot. And now he's going to do something called BLSS. This is one of the more recent tricks to run. This trick absolutely destroyed Breath of the Wild speedrunning. It absolutely changed every single category. So by smuggling this pot, the collision of the pot and the bow and Link, we can go into the climb animation where where Link is unaffected by gravity, and then by wiggling back and forth, we can give Link momentum backwards. And then afterwards, he had to do a fall damage cancel by throwing his weapon and canceling the animation by unequipping his shield. And then he had to clip into the shrine. Now he's inside the bomb shrine, where we're going to get possibly one of the most, actually pretty much the most broken rune of the entire run. This is going to let us do every single piece of movement tech, from BLSS to windbombs and etc. Speaking of windbombs, we're actually going to be seeing Rek do the very first windbomb of the run inside the shrine right here, skipping the entire interior. And he hits it. Looks good. So by jumping into bullet time and placing both bombs behind him, he can detonate the first bomb, launching the second bomb into Link, and send himself flying over the entire puzzle and every obstacle. And then again, he does a BLSS, this time with a bomb, to go straight to the monk.
There is, of course, if you're familiar with this game, there's a faster wind bomb you can do, which takes you straight to the monk. It's way tighter. It's really not worth it. It only saves 7 to 8 seconds, so this is much safer, much easier to perform. And with that, within the first 4.5 minutes, we've covered almost all of the movement tech you'll be seeing within the run, and most of the movement tech you see in anyone going for PB pace in most categories.
Yeah, wind bombs and BLSS are the most consistent forms of movement, and so if you look at All Towers world record, that's pretty much all you're going to see, except except I guess that one bit of movement to Akala, but
Actually,
well,
no, you can basically tie the BTB stuff with just wind bombs and BLSS, and it's much easier.
oh, I didn't even know that.
I know that Breath of the Wild has a ton of category extensions. In what percentile of popularity is this one?
So the popularity of All Towers kind of jumps up and down with whenever new movement tech gets discovered. So All Towers was really popular in the beginning because people were doing all sorts of routing for it and trying to figure out what the fastest way to get around to each one was. And then people found Flying Machine, where you can take 2 minecarts and stack them on top of each other and use magnesis on the bottom one. And then you can basically just fly around to every single tower. And it spiked in popularity for a while, and then it immediately dropped off afterwards because it became a super boring run where you just fly to the top of every tower. And then afterwards, because the category kind of died off, it got taken off of mainboard and became an extension. And then after that, people started to discover other things like wind bombs and BLSS. And with each of those discoveries, again, the category spiked up in popularity again, and then slowly kind of veered off in popularity. I would say All Towers is still one of the more popular extensions because it's really good for practicing BLSS. You have really long ones that you do around the whole map. But there are definitely some more popular ones out there, like All Dog Treasures and things like that. So right now,
one more. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go for it.
So that wind bomb right there. Actually, you can go for it while I scan, because I need to pay attention to what I get here.
All right. So Rek had to go get the tower because obviously it's an All Towers run, and it is faster for him to get it on the way to Magnesis. And
that's interesting.
Oh, I wonder what he's gonna use those for. I don't know. But along the way he gets the Great Plateau Tower, and then unfortunately with the Great Plateau Tower there comes a cutscene where the old man tries to talk to you at the bottom, and he kind of traps you in there, and There's actually a giant invisible barrier around the Great Plateau Tower as well, and so it gets hard to leave the tower once you're up there. But by doing a wind bomb at a very specific angle, we can go over the invisible wall. And normally you can't do a fall damage cancel because you're in ragdoll state and you don't have control of Link. But by looking at the forest and buffering the menu, he can actually force Link to come out of ragdoll with a lag stop, and then do a fall damage cancel and land right before the Magnesis Shrine. And now Rek is doing something called an amiibo run. So he's going to scan a bunch of these amiibo because later on he's going to try and do some different pieces of movement to spice things up. And because he's going to be scanning amiibo for those anyway, he might as well scan amiibo for fish. This is the main food source that he's going to use for the entire run. Because wind bombs, every single time you wind bomb, it actually takes a heart off of Link.
There's some movement tech that I'm going to be trying later. It's very finicky and very difficult to pull off, and if it fails, I could like lose 2.5 hearts immediately. And so having extra fish always helps. Everyone loves, even though it's risky to do it. Gotta show it off. All right.
Wow.
That
well done.
That was early bullet time, so I had to adjust a bit.
Yeah, I was amazed you actually hit that. But that wind bomb is actually your like bread and butter. That is like the thing I think I watched you practice that wind bomb in Discord for like 100 hours. Oh man. That right there. So normally the Magnesis Shrine is like a very straightforward shrine where you can basically just run and shield jump across every gap, and then you just blow yourself up at the end to get rid of ragdoll glitch, and it's very straightforward, and you don't really lose much time going for just that simple strat. But Rek decided to play it risky and do something called Canal Wind Bomb. It's a pretty precise wind bomb where you have to time it so you don't hit the wall in front of you, but you also don't go too high and hit the ceiling. And you also can't land in a bad spot, so that Link takes the full brunt of fall damage and dies. So that right there, that was extremely well done. Now he's going to be doing a BLSS to a specific tree.
Because I'm very scared.
Oh, right. So he's going to be grabbing this extra pot lid because we're scared about shield durability later on. But now he's going to be climbing this tree and doing something called the tree wind bomb up to the Stasis Shrine. So, unfortunately, with the structure of this game, there is no skipping the Great Plateau. You're going to have to start from the Shrine of Resurrection, get all 4 shrines to get the paraglider, because there's unfortunately a barrier around the Great Plateau, and we cannot escape that. But once we're free from the Great Plateau, we're free to roam the map and grab every single tower. Now we're coming up onto the Stasis Shrine, and you'll see that he's grabbing this this Stasis rune, and then he's going to be doing another wind bomb inside this shrine. This one is another kind of precise wind bomb, but this one also saves probably one of the most times out of all the shrine wind bombs on plateau. So he's doing a quick fix as he jumps over that gap. Oh, very well done. So by doing that wind bomb, and he can basically skip running through this shrine, and the problem is if you go too high and hit the ceiling, you're going to fall into one of the gaps, or if you miss the monk, you end up falling off and taking damage and having to run through anyways. But thankfully, he actually hit the wind bomb, and he was able to go and land straight at the monk and skip that entire shrine. That saves about 10 seconds-ish?
I think so, yeah. So here, normally you'd see like a stasis launch with this boulder, but we need another piece of equipment for a trick coming up. So I'm gonna attempt to scale this wall. So far, the wall is winning.
I've never seen somebody lose to a wall before, but there's first for everything.
Alright, that hammer is going to be our friend. It's going to come in handy real soon.
So once again, Rek is going to set up another surprise, a BLSS where gets it off of the tree stump, the step up animation, and now he's going to slide all the way to the Cryonis Shrine. So because we're going so fast with BLSS, you'll see that the game sometimes like stutters and it'll like pause for seconds and that at a time, and that is called world loads. So the game has to like stop and load the world to kind of catch up with Link. And because we're going so fast with BLSS, normally this cold area that Link takes cold damage in gets completely unloaded. And we don't actually take any cold damage while we try to get to this shrine. And now because we actually got the tower earlier, we don't have to clip into shrines anymore. The tower is what allows us to just activate the front of shrines and to actually just enter them normally.
Yeah, normally you'd have to clip into everything. It's pretty neat. You would like get skew off of Magnesis again, and then use that for both Mag and Stasis, and then do an extended shield through the door for Cryo. But we don't have to deal with any of that.
So now this wind bomb that Rek just did to skip all of Cryonis is one of the easiest and one of the biggest time saves out of all of the shrine wind bombs on Plateau. So with that, now he's done with all 4 shrines and he's going to be heading to the Temple of Time to get the paraglider. Then he'll be able to continue with the rest of the run.
So one thing I forgot to mention, which it's not going to be apparent anymore, but the first 2 cutscenes you would have seen were voice acted in Japanese with all of the text in French. It's voice acted in Japanese because I prefer the Japanese voice acting, and it doesn't lose any time to switch that in-game. The text is in French just because that saves the most time across all of these NPC interactions and the initial Sheikah Slate cutscene. Unfortunately, there's not going to be any more voice acting. It's just the first 2 cutscenes.
Unless you count the little water drop from the tower as a voice acting cutscene. Yeah, that was me who did that little bit of voice acting. The water drop, did that.
Yeah. Are you in the credits of the city game?
Oh yeah, you'll see me in there. I'm under water drop. So, again, Rek does another BLSS and then a fall damage cancel to land on the Temple of Time and enter this cutscene where he's going to be finishing up this tutorial area, the Great Plateau. And he'll finally be able to move on with the rest of the rest of the game. There he gets the paraglider. That's a solid plateau time from Rek.
Yeah, for getting the tower and scanning 5 different amiibo, that's a pretty good time. And we're gonna just start immediately. If I can find my shield.
And thankfully,
So, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that the Temple of Time is at like practically the perfect height for this lake tower coming up here.
Yeah, it's just a little short, but we end up right above like the final climbing platform, so we can just jump onto that and if Link wants to grab on, that would be nice.
He was just doing a couple of little victory hops there. He was just a little happy. Yeah.
Yeah, and that one segment gives you a taste of what this run would look like if you were going for like a PB or just wanted to practice BLS. It is very repetitive. There's only 3 segments in this run where we have to use something else to gain height. For everything else, the next tower we're going to go to is lower. And so it's just BLSS all the way throughout. But that's obviously too repetitive. So I'm going to try in this split to showcase some tech that was completely obsoleted by BLSS. Hopefully I can hit it. If I mess it up too many times, I'll just revert back to the BLSS.
Sounds good. I'm
Fingers crossed. Everyone
I'm crossing my
pray.
fingers for you. When after he lines up the trick, I'll stay quiet for a bit to let him focus and listen to the timing. But he's going to be doing something called a Stasis Bounce, and he's going to be scanning the Guardian Amiibo to drop some metal boxes to let himself set up that trick.
Need to be at full health because if the box hits me, I'll die. That's not what I wanted to do. Nice.
Oh, beautiful. Oh my god, that is... I wish we had like an audience. People would be clapping for that one. So, that trick, this Stasis Bounce is actually very, very precise. It's pretty hard to hit. So, he had to line up the metal box using magnesis, and then charge it up
I'm
with
way
the
too far
stasis
left,
ring.
but I can stop here. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this is something, yeah, you can correct the path, thankfully. But this trick is really precise. So he charges up the metal
Okay.
box with stasis, and then after that, he has to push himself against the box to line himself up, and then shield jump at the proper timing, the very precise timing. He uses the audio of stasis beeping, and then if he does the shield jumps at the proper time, the box actually launches him at a super fast pace like he just did. That trick is
You're wondering
very
why
hard
I'm
to do.
walking. I accidentally fell off, so I'm trying to make sure none of the enemies see me. A little bit of time left. That's okay.
And that's a really good recovery right there. Fortunately, the stasis bounce was a little too far left, so he'd had to do a couple wind bombs, but we're right back on track.
Yeah, that trick with the box, it is very finicky. It if the box trajectory is pointing the wrong way, you can get hit by the box. If it's if you're too far away or like at like a corner, sometimes it can fail. Sometimes you just mess the shield jump input, and it's also like the leniency. The frame window is not that bad. It's a 5 frames, which in a 30 FPS game is not that bad. But since you're listening to like a specific audio cue, you could sometimes go too early or too late, and that would also mess the trick up.
I used to remember how many frames that trick was, but I can't exactly remember anymore. I think,
All right, because I hit that one first try, I'm gonna try to do it again. But if I mess up real bad, we'll just revert back to BLSS again. Let's safety save once more.
Oh man, he's going for another one. I'm excited.
This shows what the true, like, if I can hit this, it'll show what it will look like if you have, like, a clear height advantage with these kind of launches. Oh, okay. That time didn't work out. I'm just gonna heal and then just revert back to a BLSS.
All right, sounds good. We already saw it once, so thankfully we did actually get to see a successful stasis bounce because that was very cool to watch. But unfortunately, stasis bounces have become pretty obsolete because the time it takes to actually scan and line things up and charge it up with stasis, it takes way too long for the amount of speed that you actually get. And pretty much by doing a BLSS within just a few seconds of just wiggling, you can see he's already at the speed that a stasis bounce would get you to. So So yeah.
Because stasis bounces give you that speed instantaneously, if you actually time it, the stasis bounce only is like less than 10 seconds slower than a BLSS because it takes time to build speed. But the setup time is what costs so much. That and how risky it is.
I remember a long time ago, me and Vivo actually routed all towers with a ton of stasis bounces. And I remember trying to do that run over and over and over again and just not hitting all the stasis bounces I needed. I remember, I think my fastest time with before BLSS was discovered was like a 104. And I remember you also tried to do the run with all these stasis bounces track well before BLSS was discovered. But thankfully, thankfully, BLSS was discovered, and now the run is much, much easier. So now from Dueling Peaks Tower, he's
That
going
is a
to...
little low. I'm just gonna go back to the tower and try that again.
So from this tower, we're going to see a very big problem when it comes to all towers as a category, and when it comes to the routing, is it's pretty hard to actually gain height in a lot of places. So BLSS is a trick where you actually can't gain any height and you only go horizontally.
Oh, that's not good. Do I have an autosave here? I'll just
You
reset
just warp back. Yeah.
Yeah, that works. I have no fish. Yeah, so in that case, I messed up my wind bomb timings a little bit, and so I didn't gain enough height, and I forgot to detonate the square bomb again, so that's a bit of a problem. That's okay.
That's
This
not
is
too
the
bad.
lowest tower. Yeah, this is the lowest tower, and so if we want to go anywhere from here, we have to do something to gain height, and you can quickly see how good wind bombs can be in combination with BLSS. Let me also see.
All right, there we go. So he's going to be
So in
doing
like a series of 4 wind bombs, you can gain like a ton of height, as I'm going to try to show here.
So yeah, there are going to be a couple segments that he's going to have to basically try to do something to gain height. Unfortunately, like Akala Tower, one of the tallest towers in the game, that one was very tricky to actually route places to gain height. For a long time, that was like pretty unsolved what the fastest way to gain height to get to that tower was. But thankfully, we get that tower kind of midway along the run, and then everything else is lower, so we it's just BLSSs and dropping down. That was one of the challenges when it came to routing this category.
Yeah, that just showcases how versatile wind bombs can be. Like with just, you can use them wherever you can get bullet time, so even midair. And so with just 4 wind bombs, I was able to get enough height to be above a Tenno tower. We are now.
There's unfortunately a lot of downtime in this category because after every piece of really quick movement, we just press A on this little pedestal, and now we have to watch this whole animation of the tower, like little spires going up and lighting up blue, and then this, just all these little things, and like this droplet very slowly coming down from this like Sheikah dripstone. We have to watch this 15 times. Actually, more, because we watch this in every single shrine as well.
Oh yeah, that too. You might be wondering in the shrines, if we don't even use things like Magnesis or Cryonis, why can't we just skip them? Well, if you try to, the monk will tell you that, you're stupid and you forgot something and go back and get it. Not in those exact words.
In those exact words, yes. So here we are. And thankfully, the routing-wise, this works out really well, because the Hiteno Tower, the lip of it actually goes just barely above these mountains and lets you slide just past these and to the Lanayru Tower that's coming up. which is about the same height.
So you'll notice that at times you need to like flick back and forth to gain speed, but you notice that at times I'm sort of stopping, and that's because the game has an inbuilt speed cap. So I'm using the bomb trail to know when I'm near speed cap. I'll just eat here.
Alright, so the game does have a built-in speed cap that caps how fast Link can actually be moving. So we can't actually build speed infinitely with BLSS. At a certain point when the Link hits that certain speed cap threshold, the game actually just stops him entirely. It gets rid of every piece of momentum that he has. So, yeah, Rek will have to look at the blue trail coming off of him as he BLSSs. And the pattern in that blue trail is what he looks at. When it gets to when it looks like still and like it's not moving at all, that's when he knows that he's really close to the speed cap of the game.
So right now we're gonna go to Akala Tower, which is the tallest tower in the game, and I'm going to. You can do this with BLSS and windbombs, but I'm gonna try an older strat, showcasing another kind of obsolete attack called BTBs, which if Noman can explain.
Right, of course. So BTBs are bullet time bounces. So what he's going to be doing is he's going to be entering a shield surf while in bullet time and bouncing off of an enemy, and the ragdoll animation of the enemy actually gets because you're in bullet time, the game actually miscalculates the speed that Link gets, and it sends him about 20 times the speed when you exit bullet time. So right here, what he's going to do is he's actually going to grab a bunch of ice arrows. He's going to freeze this Lizalfos. And he's going to line up this chest to allow himself to jump off and get bullet time and shield surf.
That's not good. I didn't jump off. Okay, if that's the case, I think I'll just continue with like the regular route instead of reloading and trying this again. That's unfortunate.
So unfortunately, this is a really precise trick. You have to actually like land on the Lizalfos at a very specific spot.
And so there, I didn't actually jump off the chest. I slid off it instead and pushed the Lizalfos out of the way. So that's takes too much time to reload. So I'll just
Yeah, it is. It is thankfully faster to just continue the run the way that he's doing right now. Go over the speed cap. Does it overflow to 0? Or does it just stay at the cap? Alright, guys.
Yeah, we beat Ganon.
we can. They cut back. I'm at Dark Beast.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I'll just reload back to linear. That's cool. Welcome back, Jason.
All right, we should be back.
All right, cool. We so I managed to reach a call tower doing that, but since we faced some difficulties, I figured I would just come back here, retry the BTB again, see if that goes well. So hopefully this time I can showcase that.
We should have just pretended like none of that ever happened. Like, whoa, we're back at a call tower, or we're back at linear tower again. I don't know what happened, but I don't know.
It was just a. It was just.
Yes, I got it.
Glitch in the matrix.
I was just gonna say an excuse to try the BTB again.
Oh yeah, of course. Also, what I did there wasn't just a normal wind bomb. You would have seen me going into the menu. Noman, do you want to explain what like super launches are?
So, right, that right there was actually a super launch where basically, if you open the paraglider on a lag frame, the very last lag frame, where the game goes from a lower frame rate back to the higher frame rate, if you open your paraglider on that exact frame, Link actually has 1.5 times the speed coming out of wind bombs and stasis launches and things like that.
Okay, so this is not the BTB that I want, but this is fine because there's actually another BTB I can do as a backup, which is pretty cool to showcase. Oh, well, I'm going way too far left. I can back this up with a wind bomb. It's fine.
That right there was a BTB. You can see he goes very fast by landing on that ragdolled enemy. And I assume this is like the Boko one that goes up. Yeah. So we're gonna be seeing another BTB.
Hopefully this guy doesn't see me. Link, do you want to climb up? Thank you. Oh, he saw me. And we're all the way at the top.
And perfect. There we go. So
Okay.
so by exiting bullet time right there, he can let himself go straight up by landing on a very specific part of the bokoblin. And that lets us gain a lot of height and make it to the top of the tallest tower in the game with no problem.
So when BLSS was discovered, one of the frequent questions that you would always see for like a whole year was, okay, so now what should I do? Should I BLSS or should I wind bomb? And obviously the answer is it depends, but BLSS, as we've already explained, cannot gain height, and so wind bombs are really good for that. But even for distance, wind bombs are surprisingly versatile and really fast. So from this tower to Eldin, which you could have seen in the distance, it's actually quite a bit of distance, but you can make it with a single wind bomb. And so I'm going to attempt once to do that. I'm going to heal and save here and try to do it once. It involves hitting a super, and that can make you speed cap, which is not good. So I'm going to just heal, save, and try it once, and otherwise revert back to a BLSS. Alright, I think I hit it.
That looks good to me.
I went a bit far right, but I can always curve it, so it's fine. And so
Thankfully-
even though I... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, thankfully, when you do super launch something, it becomes a lot easier to turn that launch as well.
Yeah. So wind bombs are very versatile like that. Even though I spent that much time in the menu, this is still faster than doing the BLSS, even if it's only by a few seconds. If you did the menu inputs a bit faster, you could be like up to maybe even 10 seconds faster. But it's obviously very risky. Right there, like if it's a frame perfect trick to pull the super launch. And so if I missed that, then this would have never made it because super launches give you twice the speed. There's also the problem of if my initial wind bomb was too fast, my super launch would have made me faster than speed cap, and so the game would have killed Link speed immediately. Which is actually something I wanted to talk about earlier in response to the question about speed cap. The game maintains like a body and soul for Link, and how far the soul trails behind the body is what determines when you'll speed cap. And so when you speed cap, the game just snaps the body and soul back together, and you lose all speed.
Here we see another BLSS, this time going to the Woodland Tower. So the thing that's a little bit scary about this slide right here is the fact that Link catches on fire and then his bow actually stays on fire. So hopefully yeah, it takes a pretty long time for the bow to actually burn, so we're fine. But with slides that are long enough, like in categories like all dungeons and things like that, we actually have to route in places where we pick up a metal bow, because sliding to and from Goron City, the bow can burn, and when it does burn, you drop out of BLSS.
But yeah, if you go fast enough there, you should only lose one heart. In fact, there's actually a really cool wind bomb you can do there. Turn wind bombs sometimes don't work because you stay in the fire for too long. Like the wind bomb I did for a call to Eldin might not work because you might stay in the fire for too long. But there is a very ancient wind bomb called backflip wind bombs, which if you super that actually works really well. No, when was the last time you saw one of those?
A backflip wind bomb? Like, oh man, I don't know, like the summer of '86. That stuff is ancient, man.
Active wind bombs were one of the first ones discovered. Takes a bit of time to set up, but you can go in any direction. Normally wind bombs have like some restrictions on the directions you can use them in.
Yeah, so if the square bomb hits Link at certain angles, like it can send Link too fast, and those are called dead angles because the direction that the square bomb is based off of the kind of like the mini map, the cardinal directions of the game. So all the flat sides face north, south, east, west, and you can be hit by the flat sides or the corners, but some places in between they'll cause you to speed cap. Those are called dead angles.
So the slide I just did from Woodland Tower to here, that is the point where the old route before BLSS was discovered would have diverged away because there's no way to make that distance possible. And so back in the old days, before BLSS was discovered, we would have instead warped back to Great Plateau and tried to do something there. But instead, we can just slide all the way and then use a couple wind bombs to gain the height we need to make it to, I believe it's the third tallest tower. Very close to Gerudo Tower, but not quite. Gerudo's slightly higher. Not Gerudo, I guess it's Wasteland Tower? The really tall one.
Yeah, that would yeah, that's Wasteland. So I feel like it's actually pretty funny because we I remember a long time ago when we first spoke, one of the main things we talked about was just like all towers. I think I think like half our DMs were basically just like all towers are routing. And there's just so many screenshots of just like, yeah, there's like a red branch and then a warp and then a blue branch and then a warp and then a green branch. And like all that stuff is just completely thrown out the window. All that stuff is just obsolete now.
Yeah, kind of sad. I was the old route we tried to do. It had like, I want to say 10 stasis bounces. It was wild. And so, like from Hebra Tower to Bantha, like a stasis bounce would give you all the distance and height you need to make it really fast. But of course, this is still going to be faster.
The scary part about doing a stasis bounce from Hebra Tower is the fact that you're taking cold damage. So
Right.
so if you do get hit by the box, you end up dying.
That's the reason I didn't want to try doing any here.
So the game actually has a mechanic called one-shot protection, or at least that's what we call it, is that when Link is at full health and he takes damage that normally would kill him, it'll leave him with a quarter heart. And that is thanks to one-shot protection. A lot of enemies, like hits in the game, have one-shot protection on them. Getting hit by the box during stasis bounce also has one-shot protection on it. This section going from Hebra to one of the next towers is actually one of the most difficult sections before BLSS because of the cold damage. Routing in movement that was fast enough while you're tanking this cold, and having to route in food because you tank the cold damage in this area was such a hindrance on figuring out how to go from tower to tower back in the day.
Wind's really strong. All right, we're good. So we've completed quite a few towers now. After I get the next tower, there's only going to be 3 towers remaining. And so once I get to this next tower, which I believe is Richland Tower, I'm gonna try to do a stasis bounce once again, just to break the repetition of continuous BLS. This one I'll try to give a couple of attempts, but again, just like before, if I fail it too many times, I will revert back to a BLS, just in the interest of time. Hello, tower. Okay, it loaded in. A lot of the times when I'm sliding, I try to look at the tower so it loads in, but if you make a mistake and you look up, which is, it's pretty normal. When you try to BLS from one spot to another, you want to look up to minimize loads. But when you do that here, just the central pedestal just doesn't load. And so you have to stand there waiting, looking like an idiot.
Again, we get to see this little Sheikah dripstone. My favorite part of the run.
Yeah, for the upcoming race for any percent and all dungeons in the main event, this is going to be most of the movement you see, just windbombs and BLS. AD will have 1 or 2 BTBs, which you have to look out for, but the rest is just this. Plateau looks very similar to what I did. I didn't want to use that, but that's okay. That's one of the fish that heals more hearts, but that's fine. We're almost done anyway. We don't need too much fish anymore. Did I save? I did. Nice memory. Aw.
Oh, it's unfortunate.
I'll maybe try it once more. One of the problems with getting hit, it's stasis bounce often gives you. Yeah.
So
it gives you a very weird skew.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you're slightly off with the timing for stasis bounce, it gives you a very weird skew off of the box that we call stasis bounce.
Okay. I guess today's just not the day, so we'll just go with the BLS.
Like I said, this is a very precise trick. It is very hard to hit. So yeah, unfortunately, I was quiet there because of course he needed the audio cue for the timing. But yeah, so unfortunately, when you mess up the stasis bounce, it gives you something called a skew bounce, and that right there is something that he'll have to take a little bit of time to clear before he can try the trick again. You can see that when Link tries to shield surf, he just bounces in the air. He just gains height randomly. That was skew bounce.
I only have 1 fish left. I hope that's not going to be a problem.
I think that's okay. I think you should be fine.
So the next slide, it's going to be completely in the cold, and I'll probably end up with like 1 heart or half a heart. And depending on what the weather is after that, maybe it's just a good idea to scan 1 more amiibo here just to be safe. But yeah, that's the reason why I scanned so much on Plateau, because 1 failed stasis bounce causes almost 3 hearts of damage, which is 3 fish right there. Yeah, I'll play it safe. I'll just scan once more. It's just a single scan.
So there's actually not too many towers left in the run. You can see that there's what, like 2 towers left. Then once we get those last 2, the run should be finished. This is interesting. I've not actually seen this kind of warp before.
Yeah, so the Hebrew Tower, I called it the 3rd tallest because you do a slide to get to Wasteland Tower, which is really high. You do a slide from here across the entire map from north to south, and that ends up being the fastest way to get to where you want to go. But you can see it in the distance, all the way over there, all the way at the bottom south of the map. And your health ends up working out just perfectly that if you go fast enough and you hit the right spots where the cold disappears, you end up there with 1 heart. But otherwise, usually you end up there with like half a heart. So before like BLSS was a thing, this was not possible before. We would instead warp back to Great Plateau and instead use a bokoblin in the mountains that you can honestly see in the bomb trail right over there to use it to do another BTB. And in fact, that clip is in our DM somewhere.
Yeah. That's the routing that I'm familiar with. I actually didn't know that. I didn't even know you could do this slide.
The Wasteland Tower is just a bit taller, and so if I get a good jump here, I should be able to just jump onto the tower, but even otherwise, it's fine. No, I'm too far away. Oh, never mind, I made it.
Never mind. God gamer.
And this is the problem with not looking at the tower. You just stand there, shuffling the menus, waiting for it to load. Yeah, timing-wise, this ends up being faster than that BTB. And that BTB it's a BTB, which is like a couple of frames of window, which is not conducive to any form of consistency.
When exactly does timing end again? Does it end when you press A on the tower?
So for the final tower, timing ends when the final text box shows up.
Ah, okay.
So after this cutscene for the last tower, there's a text box that shows up that says, "Hey, you got all towers. Congratulations. You're a winner."
That's word for word what it says. How Numa put that in the game. It's interesting. So now we're coming up on the final BLSS, the final slide of the run, going to the Gerudo Tower.
It's actually funny. When you're standing on the tower, you don't take cold damage, but just jumping up on the tower is enough. There's like a section right above, which is what triggers the cold region. And so just jumping up there to set up BLS, you'll see like the cold animation pops up a couple times. And this is our last tower. We end with some nice soothing music from Cass.
I missed that guy.
Oh, the tower cut him short. Unfortunate. Yeah, all in all, was pretty good. I got to show off 2 BTBs. I tried Stasis Bounces 3 times, but it did work once, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm glad we actually got to see like some cool variety of movement this time. Like, got to see windbombs, BLSS, BTBs, and Stasis Bounce. That's something you normally do not get to see.
There's obviously a bunch more movement tech. Most of them are completely obsolete. Like stasis launches have been obsolete since windbombs were discovered. Begin the YBA showcase. Time to switch games to A Link to the Past. And that's time.
GG.
Here. It was a decent run, considering some of the difficulties we had with having to reload a bunch of times and then reloading back to Akala to showcase the BTBs again. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. You won't see most of this movement tech in the upcoming race. Most of it is just going to be windbombs and BLS. But yeah, if you're learning this game, I definitely recommend learning this run because it helps so much with BLS. Yeah, it really helps with the rest of the run too.
All right. Thank you both very much for all your work and all your dedication with this run. I'd like to give you a little bit of a shout out opportunity for anything you'd like.
Yeah, I speedrun this video game and also Link to the Past. If you think that's cool, check me out. Noman also speedruns this game. I hope he does. And Tears of the Kingdom. But Noman also doesn't stream. He streams once every blue moon, so that's cool too, I guess. But yeah, huge shoutouts to the Breath of the Wild community in general. I definitely wouldn't have continued running this game if it wasn't for like the friendly community there. So be sure to join the Breath of the Wild Discord if you want to learn more stuff there. Bunch of cool resources that you can use to learn whatever you need to. Yeah, that's it for me. Anything else you want to add, Noman?
No, that was pretty much everything. All good for me.
All right. Well, thank you both again for all your hard work. This has been Event Horizon for Rejects and Friends, our small showcase event that we have just leading up to some of our bigger events. Rapid Fire is coming up on June 23rd through 25th. You can see the schedule by typing !RAF Rejects and Friends Rapid Fire in chat. We are indeed looking for a couple more art prizes, so if that is of any interest to you, please make sure to check out the form that is now in chat. But yes, that is going to be it for us today. Keep an eye out for hopefully next week where we have yet another event leading up, and we will see you then. Thank you so much for watching.